Welcome to The Longer Game, the only show that's dedicated to the future of retail. We bring on real-life people in the retail industry. We talk about their experiences, we share their stories, we apply it to what's currently going on in the market, and we look towards the future of retail. You could say it's Retail Reimagined. My name is Michael Marr. I run a customized, done-for-you service agency called Cartology that helps brands win on Amazon. Now, while my expertise stems in the Amazon field, we bring on a wide array of guests because retail is expansive. You've got e-commerce. Yes, you've got marketplaces like Amazon. You've also got brick and mortar that is evolving. You've got logistics. You've got technology, finance. There are so many aspects to retail, and it's complicated. So we're here to bring you the entire story. Do you think that you have an interesting story and you'd like to tell it on the podcast? Then go to thelongergame.com and fill out a form to be a guest on the show today. You can catch The Longer Game on any social channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our website, thelongergame.com. We've got all awesome guests on this show, so that I will promise. Are you ready to hear more about the future of retail? Let's get down to business. Welcome, everybody, to The Longer Game. This is the podcast where we talk all things retail. Retail is wide, it's expansive, and so we like to have a lot of different guests on the show. And today I have David Gill, the founder of Tenniscript, with me. It is an apparel brand, and they're also building a really cool community around this brand too. And so that's something we're going to talk about. But David, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you. I started out in marketing. I live in New York, born and bred, living in Brooklyn now. Spent a lot of time with my dog, but professionally, I have been in the marketing world for about 12 years, working on brands across influencer, branding, experiential, really just kind of a wide array of different positions, whether that's working in finance or tourism. So excited to be
Those
here.
are very different sectors, finance and tourism.
There's a lot in between also. Finance and tourism is actually a lot closer than you think.
Okay,
So.
make that connection for me. I'm now curious.
Well, most of the clients that I've worked with in the financial sector have been the Visas, the Chases, the American Expresses, specifically American Express, mostly for me. But they really try to turn their brands into lifestyles. With Amex, when you associate American Express, you usually associate travel because it is mainly a travel card for certain people and certain benefits that they push. So
there are certainly cards that are
of
travel
times,
specific, like you get Delta rewards or whatever the case might be. So
yeah, and they really put an emphasis on it because when you think about what credit card you're going to purchase, you're going to think about the benefits you get with each, and they try to make them and incentivize you to get that card because you want to get Delta specific miles or Sapphire Reserve, you get a $300 travel credit when you sign up for the card. So it's really pushing that and marketing it so that people can associate not just Amex being a big credit card conglomerate, but like when you think of Amex, you think of premium experiences and the whole lifestyle. And that's kind of like the golden grail for a brand, is to be a lifestyle and not just a product.
I think it's a great example of something that is kind of boring, I guess, finance or something like that. Amex really has done a great job of tying that to lifestyle. Like, hey, you get access to the Centurion Lounge, you get all these free upgrades. Like the Black Card is an Amex Black Card, right? I don't even know if they're still issuing or distributing that, because I feel like it's become more hush. But like, put it on my Black Card. That's like a common hip hop R&B line. That's an Amex thing.
Well, that's the whole thing behind it, is they don't actually market the Black Card. There is no marketing ever around the Black Card. The closest thing, I think, was we did a collaboration with Ariana Grande because she has a lyric in her song. It says Black Card is my business card or something like that. And we put it on a shirt, and then we were selling it to card members at Coachella, which was pretty cool.
That is true lifestyle brand. And I think the thing that I see happen is the unsexy stuff has so much opportunity, and so many people, I feel like, instantaneously gravitate towards, at least from a product standpoint, like health or beauty, and all those things are great. But like, imagine taking something unsexy like a credit card unsecured debt that you owe to a company, and now you have a VIP status because you have this black card. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, and I mean the incentivization behind the black card also is like you have to spend, I think it's like 25K a month to even
Oh,
qualify
that's
for it.
not even. That's not even. I mean, from a business
I
standpoint,
think I think
personally,
that's like the minimum.
personally, a little
It
bit
might
different.
be two. It might be 250, but I think it's 225. But you also get selected. You have to get invited. You can't apply to it.
Right.
But I think also it's like when you're thinking about unsexy brands, like with American Express, they took it from just being a credit card to offering not only the travel incentives, but like sporting events, music. Any festival you go to, there's an American Express lounge. There's an American Express Platinum experience at like the big events, wherever it is, whether it's Art Basel or you're going to Wimbledon. So it's really cool how you take something that just is a product or is like the NBA. We were talking about last time we connected was the NBA used to be a sports league. Now it's sports, fashion,
Oh
gaming.
yeah.
It's a
If you're
brand,
not building a
and
business on top of that career that you have, then I think two things happen. One is you're missing a huge opportunity, but two, that money from your sports league is not necessarily going to last. And if you don't spend it wisely, whether investing it into something financial or just use the money wisely, then or help it your money work for you, then yeah, that's a huge missed opportunity.
yeah, and it's what's really cool about it is like builds brand equity with people that might not be like NBA fans. So like I have friends that are basketball purists, and they're like, all we do is watch games. But then there's like a lot of younger kids are coming into the sport because they like some of the athletes individually from social media, or they like, some of the brands that they're associated with. Some people look at the NBA as a fashion driver because of the way that the players walk in the tunnels and what they wear off the court. So it's pretty cool how it just turned kind of 360 from what it was in the 90s, which was a brute league where there was fights on the court and things happening. Like it was a lot more physical and a lot more sports oriented. While it still is sports oriented, it's a lot more of a conglomerate of 100 different channels that kind of builds it into a worldwide driver of culture.
I wonder if there's also maybe some content creep there. Like now there's a lot more brands, there's a lot more building of a personal brand. Maybe I wonder if some people feel like that's taken away from the sport itself. Like there's not as much loyalty to the team in a way that like Michael Jordan would not have succeeded without his team. He needed that team, and there was huge team camaraderie and loyalty. Even I remember a story. I think I was watching the last game or whatever that series was,
Yeah.
and Michael Jordan was talking about how Dennis Rodman needed to like go and clear his head, and he was just not at practice, and then he showed up to a game, and he had been like on a bender for like a
Yeah.
week, but he showed, he played, and it was incredible. But that was like a loyalty to his team. So I'm sure people feel like maybe there's some love loss in that regard.
There's a lot of interesting podcasts around it because most like former players have podcasts and a lot of
Okay.
current players have podcasts, and
Who doesn't
it's
have a
really interesting to
podcast, right?
hear. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to hear how like players view it, like the retired players versus the current ones, and like some of them are like people do pad stats because they want to be remembered for something if their team isn't good. But like I think now the league is also moving into like you saw with the Knicks, Jalen Brunson signed a deal for $113 million less than he could have got, and it was because he wants to win a championship in New York.
Mm.
Like so, I think it goes both ways. I think players are able to make money outside of the league now in a way larger way. And if you look at the viewing statistics for the NBA is actually really interesting. The TV ratings are actually a little lower and consistently year over year lower because a lot of people are consuming games off of cable. They're consuming it via either social or
Oh, okay.
a different medium, which is, I mean, kind of the way the world's going now. Is like some people don't actually watch a whole movie, but they know everything about the movie because they have an Instagram or TikTok.
That almost maybe I'm just getting old, but that feels weird to me. I'm the kind of person though that likes a physical book because I feel like I feel like I have no shade to anyone who listens to audiobooks, but I'm like I feel like I'm cheating. Like I feel like I'm
That's like me and taking notes. I have to write notes down. If I'm typing them, I'll probably forget that I wrote them. But I write everything down. So like I'm a notepad guy. I usually have my notepad right next to me. I have my pen over here, but
I
not my book. But
I think the brand impact on culture, and even just looking at the NBA specifically, I was at a basketball game for some of my daughter's friends this weekend, and I was watching some of the people on the court behind us, and there were these young boys, and they had their like school name on the shirt and just a Jordan logo. Like that is
sick.
like the
Yeah.
start of, I feel like, sport impacting culture. And Michael Jordan took that to a whole new level. He was an incredible player, but what he did from a brand perspective was unheard of. And it lasts. People still talk about Jordans. People want to have their own shoe line because of Michael Jordan. Like that was innovative at the time, and now it's almost feels, I wouldn't quite say stable table stakes, but if you're not if you're a big player like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or any big, I don't really know that many basketball players, so I think I just went through my,
Yeah.
I remember like David Robinson and Scottie Pippen and some of the people in the 90s. Like that's kind of where my knowledge
Yeah.
goes to. But that is that's the holy grail now. Like you want to have some kind of line or something behind you because that's your legacy.
Yeah, and I mean, Michael Jordan kind of set the gold standard. It is the greatest brand deal of all time, and it's probably one of the coolest brand stories of all time because Nike was a no-name team. If you watched Air, it kind of runs you through like the story of it, but no one knew it was going to be that big,
Sure.
and it did grow, and it got to this level. But like the way that they also marketed it, like all of their ad campaigns were so cool, and it was like it brings back. If you watch it now, you're like, I actually want a Jordan. Like I want that shoe. And I think that got lost for a while with sports marketing. It just because it got too big too fast, and it was very different. And one had a really cool push behind like their apparel. It was really authentic. Anthony Edwards now he's a player on the Timberwolves, and his ads are amazing. They're very much reminiscent of the ads in the
Okay.
'90s, where it's literally just like him talking and him being himself, who's like he's a very like tenacious personality. He loves he's fiery, and it comes out in his ads, and it's awesome. So I think that the sports marketing, like they're at that inflection point where they're like, we need to differentiate ourselves. We need to stop being so friendly and just marketing what we're doing. We need to show we're the best, or we need to embody that voice of the player that we're pushing, which is really cool because when you get behind that, you have not only a product, but you have someone that is standing behind their product and getting like those fans and the other people that might think that this product is cool to, potentially purchase and potentially drive that value of the brand higher.
I think the thing that's really interesting to me, and there's a parallel that I'm drawing between just brand in general, and I think about my agency, Cartology. We work with brands, help them to grow on Amazon, and there's a lot of brands that have launched and been Amazon native, and they miss some of the branding component because Amazon is still very product focused. Like people go there to look for products, but you're missing an opportunity. A lot of people say you got to build a brand, which sounds kind of like a generic thing to say, which is true. It is kind of a generic thing to say at this point. But like, what does that mean? And I think a lot of people miss an opportunity to create brand affinity because they just don't know, one, who is our audience? Like, who are we actually going for? Oh, okay, anyone that needs to juice lemons. I'm thinking of a lemon juicer, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Like, but what does that actually mean? Like, if you can make finance with Amex sexy, then can't you make a spatula or something in the kitchen that's maybe not as sexy? Like, can't you turn that into something, or at least create some kind of brand around it? And that is what I think Michael Jordan has done with personal brand, but a lot of other apparel companies, whatever, like they're creating an experience and a feeling. And if you don't know what you want people to feel when they think about your brand, then you probably haven't thought enough about brand in general.
Yeah, and I mean, you see that, like, speaking of kitchen goods, like Caraway and what is another one, like Missin and Maiden, like all these are
Alinea.
like big, yeah, like big, like home brands that, like, if you go on social media, you're getting ads and they're making it like okay, this is geared towards people that live in a city with a small kitchen. I could put all my pans one, two, three in each other. It's like a very clean looking, like elevated. It has that very much, colorful branding, differentiating from like major, cuisine arts and things of that nature. And then on the other hand, it's like, oh, these are actually chef grade.
Right.
Let's turn you into a home chef because everyone wants to be a
Well,
home
I said
chef.
Alinea.
No one wants to.
The founder made in his restaurant is Alinea. But yeah, like they're
Awesome.
selling. I remember seeing them on a whatever the Netflix show is that goes through. Uh, man, I can't remember what it's called, but there's like a whole
There's so
yeah. There's
many.
somebody, but there was like a bunch of like Chef's Table. I think that's what it was, and
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
dude
Yeah.
has a Michelin star, something crazy like that. But you're not just selling a pan, you're selling someone the dream of you can now be a Michelin star chef in your home. Like that's what people want. I mean, they of course want product features. They want it to be durable, all that stuff. But like that's what you're selling is like I feel good when I'm
Well, and
cooking.
that's the cosign that you're getting.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're getting that cosign from your Michelin, your favorite chef, or that guy you saw on TV. That's amazing. It's like that's why people use influencers. You're buying trust, and you're pushing, an actual endorsement, which is why that industry took off so much. That's why celebrity endorsements are so valuable for brands. That's why partnerships are so valuable for brands because either you're a borrowing equity or you're borrowing like cool. I like to call it borrowing cool. Like if you partner with another brand that people love and no one really knows you, or maybe your brand got a little stale over the years, or you're trying to reach a new market. That's how you continue it to go. You use those other audiences because that's how you really make that correlation. That's how you start to change perception for people that might think, oh, I forgot about this brand, or it doesn't resonate with me anymore. I grew out of it.
I think the buying cool, I like that a lot. And there was I can't remember what show it was. I think it might have just been a clip of something on I'm going to say YouTube Shorts. I know that people are going to tell me that I'm old because all the young kids are on TikTok. But I watched a YouTube short. I do it regularly. Judge me all you want. But someone was talking about how one of the songs that Eminem was featured on with Jay-Z, like the song blew up and people said, "Oh, Eminem like destroyed him on that track," which there's a lot of like controversy like is Eminem the greatest? Is he not? I think he's pretty incredible and just a really interesting character, but what someone said about that song I thought was really interesting and I think it applies here to the influencer piece. On that song, Jay-Z has an audience, Eminem has an audience. Jay-Z brought Eminem probably into some homes that he was not in, even though he's in hip hop. Maybe it was because he's white. Maybe it was because they just are listening to a different style of hip hop. Eminem brought Jay-Z into other people's homes. So they were kind of borrowing cool or borrowing influence from each other, and that increased their visibility. And that's like a tale as old as time.
Yeah, I mean, the feature in music is such a valuable commodity because you see a lot of people get discovered because they're on other tracks, or like you're a producer for X, Y, and Z. Now you want to produce my things. Like Alchemist for hip hop heads is a household name, but he also is 80% of his music or 95% of his music is actually just producing beats. So it's really cool to see. When you use that example in music, that's been something that's gone tail old as time. Like, Quincy Jones, that people know him as a musician, people also know him as one of the greatest producers that ever lived.
Right.
So it's cool that it's cool that like you can equate like that's why when I'm doing my marketing campaigns or I'm pitching clients and they're like, okay, you work in tourism, marketing, tourism, finance, fashion, gaming, whatever it is, a lot of the formulas are exactly the same. Like when you boil it down, it's literally design. You're literally designing how you want people to indirect engage with your product. And if you're going to go down the influencer or the partnership route, it's a formula. And maybe some of the nuances within it change, or even with an experiential moment, all the nuances, maybe some things are different, but you want to elicit the same goal. So you're just designing a model that will make you get there, and that model actually doesn't shift that much when you go from one product to another, unless you're blowing it all up. Like AI might blow it all up because the further we get down there, a lot of the testing is going to be already solved for you before you actually get your final
Maybe
product.
AI just learns the model so well that it can run that model way
Yeah.
faster too. So are you saying that marketing is almost like a lifetime movie, that there is a very specific formula that it follows and that
Yes and no. I think
might be too
it depends on
prescribed?
the goal. Yeah, it might be like I know on Hallmark, I was talking to my grandmother, and she's like, "It's all of them are exactly the same."
There is a
Like
legit
there's
formula
a
for them.
kiss, yeah, and there's a kiss. I think it's like the 2 minute mark. Like actually, you can time it within like a 15-second span, where like that's where the grand romance kind of takes off. In every movie is like in the last 2 minutes they have like the first kiss in the movie is always in that
Interesting.
bracket,
Netflix has done
and
it
that's
too.
how it ends.
Netflix has done a lot more movies. I was at my church this weekend and they were remaking a Lifetime movie. Like they were talking about that, how there's a formula and like how it relates to concepts about God. But what was funny is they were going through new Netflix Lifetime style movies. There's one called Hot Frosty. And it's literally like a kind of sexy dude on the cover with a woman. He's missing sleeves in snow. You never see that happen, but like Hot Frosty, like that is like an incredible title to me. It's such a funny thing.
In real life it's like some guy, it's like 30 degrees, he's like overweight and like slides just like
Got
fine outside and you're
frostbite.
freezing. You're like how are you doing this?
Oh man, but I think the formula is real, and there's just I think part of that has to do with what people are looking for. That people want a cool factor. They want to trade up status, and that's why people I think like celebrities a lot. I do also think that celebrity endorsements could be a risk depending upon if your celebrity is really the audience that you want to go after. Like having someone like I don't know, I'm just going to say Kim Kardashian because she's a celebrity, but like, is that really who you want to align with? Like, she's got a huge audience, but is she really the person that you want to have repping you because of who
I
you
think
are?
the answer on that one I think the answer on that one is just because like her power always,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
it will do well no matter what it is, she's there. But like you can get to the point where it's like, if Diddy was
I
your
was just going to
celebrity and then the whole
say
entire world blew up, like that's the
people
risk you're
just
taking. You're
distance.
investing in a
Yeah.
person, and it's a real thing. And when we would build like contracts with these influencers or with these celebrities or even other brands, there is like, I mean, disparagement is huge. Like if anything happens that comes out of like, legal or, comments, anything like that, there are out clauses for
Sure.
90% of the people. And then like you look at the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson and he's terrible and all these allegations are coming out and they fully guaranteed him for 20 years. It's the worst deal of all time
Yeah.
where it's like you lock yourself in. So like
And now the
in
guy
my
who's replacing him is like this
programming,
really clean cut dude, was excited about playing in the snow. Like that was a totally different vibe. And like, I love that guy way
yeah,
more. I don't care whatever skill someone has. I mean, although they've not
yeah.
done well.
And
So
yeah, and I think it's I mean in all the every contract that I ever negotiate and every like brand deal I'll ever negotiate and any company I've worked with, we have like a lot of different, so like it might be a tiered deal where like the first 6 months or the first 3 months, whatever it is a trial. We want to
okay.
work, we want to see if we're compatible together. I think that if you lock yourself into a brand deal that's going to be X years or X dollars right up front and you're not happy with your investment, that entire time you're working on that project is not going to be healthy,
Yeah.
to say the least. Like anything that you're going to suggest, anything that you're going to recommend that might behoove the brand, and it will likely push them in the right direction. If they have some sort of, angst and uncertainty behind it, and it is stemming from a, you know, X dollar contract that we're locked into, that's not healthy. So I think it's worth, like, one thing that's like really worth considering is building trust. And when you build trust, it's not only with your partners, but it's also with audiences that you're speaking to. Because we've done marketing programs where we've gotten like a skateboarder who has this diehard following, amazing engagement, amazing influence on his world, and we marketed a product and we recommended to the client, hey, this might not be the smartest way for him to talk to people. And they were like, no, this is what we signed him for. I'm like, this isn't what we discussed, but if you want to go for it, you're the client. Like, we can only give a recommendation. We can push so hard, but if that's the word, that's the word. And he posted it, and it turned into a shitstorm. We took it down, and we built a whole different language for him to actually talk about the partnership that he had. And it was really, it turned out into being a positive long-term relationship. But in the beginning, those are the things you learn. And with those, we had the opportunity to be like, okay, this happened. Do we want to continue or do we not? And we're like, look, he had this much engagement off one post. It was all negative, but he had this much engagement. Let's try to do something that would actually make sense. And we did, and it took off, and it was really good.
That feels like it would be
towards his audience,
unique that someone would say, this went poorly, let's stick around. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people just see the influence in general, and they're like, okay, we want to still tap into that.
I think it's a trust thing. You have clients that maybe in the beginning it's not going so smooth. Like I had a relationship with one of my favorite clients I've ever worked with, and the deal I did not negotiate. I came into an agency and we were working with them, and we were not able to hit the goal that they negotiated, and it was apparent from the start. I came on the team. This was a couple months already into them into them working together, and I was like, this isn't going to happen. What we can do is we can pivot and try a couple of different things. We have this budget that we allotted. We have this much, this is our goal that we have to hit. There's no out clauses for us as an agency. It was a terrible agency deal, a great brand deal. For them to get all of this value was awesome. They were getting probably 6x what they paid for in terms of hours. And we started doing all this testing and found a lot of things that worked, and ended up pivoting a large portion of the budget to automating half of the programming that we were doing. So instead of using organic media to push a product that was in a gambling space, so it's a heavily regulated space, we actually used an affiliate model and automated a lot of the stuff that we were doing, freeing up our hours to actually hit on other brand goals and help them grow in different areas. So it was really cool that we were able to actually have that real discussion. And the real discussion was just like, we're not going to tell you that this is going to work. We know it's not. How do we take where we are? What do we want to redefine as our goals? And how do we actually drive things forward? So they had an investment that was over a year of them working together.
Wow.
So for the new year, it was free money. It was free hours. So let's use this and let's make it something that's going to actually help both of us grow. We found out what they needed. They found out what they needed, and ended up pushing their product a lot more.
Super cliche.
And converted a lot more.
Okay. I was just going to say, it's super cliche to say, no pain, no gain. But I think if you are unwilling, not I think, but I know, if you are unwilling to talk about the negative stuff that's going on or the problems, they're only going to fester. People are going to go look for other solutions elsewhere. And brands don't want to be, or brands, clients, customers, whatever they might be, they don't want to be gaslit. You are better off just facing the problem, saying, look, this is not going to work. Here's what we think we should do. Let's be honest about this. We talked about, buying trust or buying cool, but you buy trust from someone by saying, hey, we're going to talk about the real shit right now. We're not just going to talk about, oh, everything's great, everything's awesome, because brands will eventually figure out they're being gaslit. Talk to brands all the time. They're like, someone said all the metrics are great. I'm like, how can the metrics be great and you be declining in sales? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like looking at the 360. Brands aren't stupid. They build, they hire, they create these ecosystems. They have these, employees that come from also other amazing companies. They're not dumb. So when you're a agency and you're like, everything is good and everything is not good, that's not conducive to a long-term relationship. That's maybe going to get you to the end of your contract. But what you really want is to, foster trust. So you want it to be a two-way relationship. You're a part of their team. You're a part of their family. And when you are there, you're dedicated to keeping this going. You want this to grow, and you want the product to flourish, and you want to have them have a good taste in the mouth about you. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's more than fine, because not everything is meant to be a win. And that's kind of how you... Wouldn't
it be great, though, if everything was a win? That would just be so incredible. Well, I think that's another thing that brands bring into the Amazon ecosystem. But any brand, not every single product you launch is going to be a winner. And that's not because your agency sucks or because of timing or anything like that. Maybe it's just not a good product, and you have to be okay with that because it didn't fit the brand vibe. It just was, maybe it was bad timing, but there's a lot of reasons why a product may make sense or work, I think you have to be okay with that and just know, okay, well, what's the next thing? Like, if it's failure, if you end it at the failure, there's always another opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like selling stocks, right? You can sell for a loss, and then you might have made money somewhere else, and then in the end, when you're like reporting taxes, it kind of evens out, hopefully. But
Yeah.
even like with me, when I'm doing my tennis products, right? I grew up with all of these different things that I wear, and tennis really was one of the brands that started, or one of the verticals that started streetwear. I think it's tennis and skating were the first two. Basketball kind of took it to the next level. Hip hop took it to the next level, but like when you look at initial like inspiration behind a lot of the streetwear that's worn today, you can trace it back to roots in tennis and running in um, skateboarding. But
Big
like
jeans, big
it's
baggy jeans. That was like a Jinko jeans. I remember having a pair of those, thinking it was
they're
so cool.
back.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
I was walking my dog the
how
other
did
day. I saw two people
how did
wearing them.
that
I saw a couple
happen?
wearing them. I was like,
I my
it's a cycle though. It's
It's
a
true.
cycle. Like what hasn't come back that hasn't been like big in the 80s or 90s. Like look at the biggest pop stars. Like right now, like Charlie XCX, you can probably trace her back to something that's, similar. Like
I was just
Madonna
gonna
kind of
say
did the same
Madonna.
thing
Yeah,
back for her. Yeah, like for her generation, like you're bringing back the party girl lifestyle. That's cool, fun. Everyone wants to be a part of it. It's inclusive, and that's what it was. So it's a cycle, but like
the baggy jeans
what
I
I'm
still
seeing in
don't get.
tennis,
My wife and I joke about like Justin Bieber and Haley, how they like wear these like crazy looking clothes, but like that's the cool.
I'm in that boat. I'm probably in their camp. Usually what I'm wearing is like
I like it
triple, double XL t-shirts and baggy
if you can
clothing.
pull it off. If
Um,
you can pull it off, like I'm the more like the older I get, I'm like, man, I want like a crazier looking shirt. Maybe my pants are kind of more normal and they're plain color. I'm like, let's go for the craziest thing. Like I'm okay if it pops, but the fit I think is really interesting how that kind of goes in and out.
yeah, and I think a lot of it now is like inspired by what's going on in Japan and their like clothing boom. I think a lot of it is kind of just like the equivalents in currency, but they really drive fashion right now. And it's really cool to see because it's different than what we normally wear. But like office culture, like I used to work at Ralph Lauren, I used to have to wear a black suit every day. Now they let people
Could
choose
you
their own
imagine
suit,
that,
or they choose what they wear in
man?
certain places. Like when I worked at Saks, a lot of people were dressed formally. I was dressed in NASCAR t-shirts and like big pants or whatever was different. And for the most part, I only wear white. It's like a thing. People joke 'cause I have a tennis brand and I only wear white. There's no real reason behind I only wear white other
It's,
than I
it's
like it.
subconscious. Subconscious. It's
Yeah, it's like I did not know how to do laundry and I kept on ruining all my clothing when I had color. So I was just like, nope, we're going this, and then it just
that's
slowly
funny.
spiraled into this. But with the clothing that I make, I only make things I want to wear. But what I want to wear, it might not be what the general public wants to wear, and that's fine. If something doesn't sell, that's fine. But like when I take risks and do things that I think might be dumb, they're they work. Like I made a Grateful Dead tennis T-shirt because the brand is inspired by Dead bootlegs. The whole brand is bootleg. T-shirt I'm actually wearing on the back is all Grateful Dead stuff. But like after that, Market, who's a giant um, streetwear brand in New York, they actually have an official collaboration, and he did a Dead thing, and it works. People love music and people love tennis, and there was a crossover in that market, and they made some cool stuff. Like I did it first,
Yeah,
but
yeah, right.
it's fun that we also like, probably I took some risks. Like I made acid sheets with my logo and the dead inspired thing on it, and people were buying them, and they were a lot of fun. Maybe it took me out of some of the markets and partners that I would have had because we're not technically brand safe, but like that was never the goal.
Right.
I'm making tennis for people that like tennis, but also like other things, and that's like fun for us to be able to play with that because if you look at most tennis clothing, it's country club.
Yeah, yeah. Very different.
Yeah, it's very polished. The fits are tight. Everything looks like it's very much performance oriented, where mine is going to be more like I play tennis for fun. If I wear a t-shirt and I'm sweating, I don't want to be wearing dry fit. I don't want it to stick to my body and wick sweat away because that just means it's on my body. I want a shirt that maybe I'll sweat in. My t-shirt will be wet, but If it goes like this and it's baggy, it'll feel good when it touches my skin again. I'll be
Yeah, and
cold.
what you told me about the
I'm
New
just
York
having fun
tennis
with it.
system is anything but fun. So you want to have fun when you're playing because getting into those courts sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, so I think that the city's working towards doing some things that are going to help. Working with USTA Eastern and working with some nonprofits up here that like at least will make it. I'm working on the youth tennis side of things to try to make that more accessible. Hosting every Thursday a open court so people can come and just hit. Uh, Last one was a little bit brutal. I was by far the worst person there.
Hey, but you had fun, right?
Made me need it. I did have fun, but I need to train. But I think that what's really cool with like this space, especially with like tennis having the boom that it's having, is there's so much for everybody there. And I think that when you look at a lot of the products, and like especially you probably see it more on the Amazon side, there's so many products that are functionally the same. The t-shirt is functionally
Yeah.
the same across the board, but what you're eliciting out of it is like you said the lemon juicer.
Yeah.
Is that lemon juicer right for me, or is that lemon juicer right for me? So it's something that everyone has like a space in, which is cool.
I'm thinking about it
And
for
it's like Tom
juicing
said,
stuff to
always
make
speak about it.
cocktails, but that same person who's using it to
You
cook
said
may need it for the same thing. But like, I think part of what I notice with brands is they want to go really wide, and I do think you have to experiment. But if you can find someone that you can really nail it for, then you have an opportunity to get into homes, build a brand, and then you can expand influence. Like, uh, uh,
yeah,
uh, brands expand product lines all the time. Like the brand Color Street started with nails, and it just took off at an incredible time. All like not press on, but it's like the sheets that you put on your nails. My wife uses them all the time. I know people that sell it, and it took off during the pandemic. Like it just was incredible timing. But now they do beauty. They do other stuff as well. That is, they started with a very specific product though, and then they were able to build trust and expand on that. But I don't know that every single product is going to win. And to the point before, like you have to have a willingness to experiment. No, not everything's going to succeed. And you can't predict something like Jordans. You cannot predict that. You can say this is going to be the biggest thing in the world and it flops for whatever reason. And you have to be willing to try something else.
that's the same thing. It's like I don't know, like how many people have air fryers? Like who knew that that was going to be a thing? Like that was like one of those you got it in Hampshire and Schlumberger, Sharper Image magazine, and someone bought it. And you're like, wow, that's sick. And then I got it. Or like, I don't know, I have an air purifier in my house. Like growing up, did I ever have an air purifier in my house? No, but it's a thing now. Like people actually care about it. So I think you can predict a trend to like a degree, but like the resonance of it, that's something that's going to be like those giant rubber red shoes, those mischief shoes. Like no one knew that those were going to be a big thing, but they are. And I think brands also like kind of find ways to capitalize on it. Like Crocs every like 8 months has like a mini resurgence
Yeah,
or
that's crazy to me. Those were big in like the early 2000s, and then they've come, and now kids are wearing those, and adults, everyone's
yeah.
wearing.
I'm just waiting for Heelys to come back. When are
My
Heelys
daughter
coming
has a
back?
pair, and she's been wearing them. It's not been recently, but
Oh
people are
yeah.
like, oh, those are super cool, and I'm even like, I kind of want a pair of of heels.
I want those shoes. Remember those shoes when we were growing up that had like pieces of plastic so you can grind on stuff?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, like I remember skating shoes like that. I just sucked at skating. I could only ollie, and even then, it was just okay.
I was a disaster. I loved skateboarding. I'm unreal at Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but I cannot push a board. I
Yeah,
cannot
but it was the experience.
stay
It was the
vertical.
experience of
Yeah.
like, I'm a skater. I have this vibe. I enjoy this. And it's something that I think has even lasted through time. Like, you look at someone like Lil Wayne, who is a skate. I mean, he's a skater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's
crazy.
like one of my favorite skate videos um, is like that video with Owen Wilson when he's just skating randomly, like just
Oh,
hanging out with his friend, and then he just like busts like I think it was like a no slide off like a 10 stair rail, and just was like, "Yep, let's go."
it's
Sick.
all. I think it just speaks to experience. Like, there's a vibe that people get, and like you said, you can't predict resonance of a trend. I think it's a great place to end today. Like, man, Probably best background of anyone that's ever been on the show. Super hip dude, but I really appreciate you being here, David. Tell people if they want to know more about where to find you or how to engage with you, where should they go look? Should they just randomly pop up on a New York tennis court, or maybe there's someone else that's more efficient to find you?
I don't know how efficient it would be to pop up on a tennis court, but every Thursday at McCarran Park, I'll be there between 8:30 and 10:30.
Okay, maybe that's real.
Yeah, there's a few bars. If you're in North Brooklyn, you'll probably see me out there. But other than that, you can find me on Tennis Grip on Instagram, tennisgrip.club. We're going to relaunch our website. We're going to release a couple of cool things coming up in the new year, closer to spring. This will be one of them, which is fun. But other than that, probably walking around the dog park. I have a dog. You can follow him, Hurricane Samba.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Shoot me a note on either of those accounts. I'll send you my personal, and would love to meet some of the listeners and keep this conversation
Yeah, and
going.
if you want to talk about brand, I think David's definitely your dude. Well, that's it. We don't have anything else for you people, so you don't have to go home, but you got to get out of here. So peace. All right, that was the show. What did you think? That was the longer game. We would love for you to share the show with other people and to leave us a review of the show. So go to iTunes, go to Spotify, you can go to YouTube, comment, leave a review, and share this on any social channels that you are active on and wherever you have influence. We want to share this story and stories like it to as many people as possible. Do you have a compelling story and do you want to come on the podcast and talk about it, and you're in the retail industry, then go to thelongergame.com, fill out a form, and we will contact you about coming on the show. You can find us on any social channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and you can go to our website, thelongergame.com, to actually read all of these episodes in blog form in text, because we know not everyone's going to listen. This podcast is brought to you by my agency, Cartology. We are a customized, done-for-you service agency that helps brands win on Amazon. It is super complex selling on the Amazon Marketplace. We help simplify that for you. This podcast is also brought to you by Podcastify Me. They are a full-service podcast production company that designs podcasts around people who are paid for their advice. That is coaches. If you want someone to help create, strategize, and distribute your podcast to the masses, go to podcastify.me to find out more. I've so enjoyed that you've been a part of the conversation and that you've given of your time to hear these people's stories. We'd love for you to share. If you want to find out more, just go to thelongergame.com. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed. And until next time, cheers.